Successful food producer and exporter shares her recipe for success. Today I'm delighted to talk to Maria Betts. Maria had a passion for food. She saw a gap in the market. She started prototyping some foods in her kitchen at home. She brought them to a farmer's market and now she exports internationally. Her gluten-free products are now on sale across Europe and Asia. And using an outsourcing model, she keeps her team very small, but she still achieves very big results. This is really interesting. Enjoy.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to the Self-Maker Show. This is your host, Conor Lynch. So I'm with Maria from Maria Lucia Bakes, and we're going to have a little chat about herself and her career and how she has set up her business. So do you want to maybe tell me a little bit about your background, your backstory, and how you've got to where you are today?
Sure. Well, I'll keep it as short as I can. I'm originally from Glendalough in County Wicklow, where our family had a tea rooms, guest house and antique shop. And then when I was in my 20s, the family moved to England. And then I came back just as the recession was probably at its worst in Ireland. And I got into retail management. That's what I had done in England. And worked in that area for about 8 years. Worked with a really good company, chain of shops. I travelled all over the country, worked with lots of people, managed a big team. Really enjoyed it, but probably always felt that little niggle. I really want to do something for myself. So I left in 1997 and I started in the coaching and training world. I started off doing a little bit of person development training, did that for a short while, but then discovered one-to-one executive and business coaching. So I worked with small business owners, but most of the business was working with managers at a middle level in organizations like banks, insurance companies, technology firms. And I did that until 2008. And I suppose myself and my business partner we felt like we were the canaries in the mine, that when the recession hit, everyone was trying to talk it down. We were the ones that were finding that we were getting calls saying, that the budget has been pulled for HR. So that put me in a situation then of, what am I going to do now? I could see the writing on the wall for the next number of months or more. It was going to be very difficult. If companies weren't investing in people, then I had something else. So I did something fairly radically different again. And I went to London and for week-long training courses, and I trained in how to trade commodities, currencies, that kind of thing for myself. So using my own money. So I did that for 4 years, and it was the best time of my life and the worst time of my life. I love the analytical side of it. I love the rush, the adrenaline rush when trades were going my way. And then the flip side was I absolutely hated it, and I found it was just emotionally bruising to trade and to lose money when it was my own money. So that was really brought me up to then 2012, 2013, where I was then thinking, okay, what am I going to do now? I can't keep doing this. I need to be busy. I want to occupy my time. I asked myself, do I want to go and get a job somewhere? And because of the work I'd done, my coaching work, although I had a lot of experience in that area, I was a generalist. In other words, I was working with people in different industries, different levels of those industries. And I couldn't, hand on heart, say that I was an expert in finance or anything. So I wondered who was going to hire me, and anybody who's worked for themselves, that's the challenge, isn't it? How do you look appealing to a prospective employer? So 2 of my friends within the 1 week said, why don't you get into the food business? And the only reason they said that is both friends, one lives in Clare and the other lives in Cork. And anytime they'd come and stay with me, I would roll out the red carpet and everything would be homemade. So they both had this impression that our family lived off this kind of homemade cooking every day, where everything was made. I hate to say it, but that's not the case. You know, cook a lot, but not all the time. So I thought, well, oh my God, how can I go into the food industry? I don't really know anything about it, other than having grown up in a family business where my mum was a great cook and she baked all the lovely scones and breads and made the homemade jams, homemade lemonade and all these lovely things. So I grew up with that. So it probably gave me an appreciation of homemade, good quality food.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing. But so I suppose I took inspiration from the two friends within the 1 week. I thought there's no such thing as coincidence. Maybe I should look into it. So I met one of those friends. I went down to Cork just for another business reason. And we went out for lunch. We were sitting out in the sun and my friend said, I don't know what I can have here because I'm gluten intolerant on the menu. So she was having to put in special requests and everything. And that sort of stayed with me. And I thought, that's an awful thing that she can't just have anything she wants. A couple of weeks later, she came to stay with us. And I made the dinner for the evening when she arrived, and the nice sticky toffee pudding that coincidentally turned out beautifully using gluten-free flour. And the next morning, I gave her some granola because I made granola at home for years. So I just made a gluten-free version, and she was absolutely bowled over by it. And she said, you know, you can't buy anything like this in the shops. You should sell this. So that really was the idea. I then went to the local enterprise office just down the road from us here in Rathfarnham in Dublin. And I availed of a 30-minute mentoring session, which was just simply to talk to someone to say, I want to start a business. I'm thinking of this. Am I crazy? Because if I am, let's knock it on the head now. And I was really fortunate to meet a lovely lady who had experience in the food industry. And she said, you know, how can I help you? And I said, well, I'm thinking of starting a food business, a gluten-free food business. And she said, well, what kind of gluten-free food? And I said, well, I don't know, because I think whatever there is a demand for, where there's a gap in the market, I know if I spend long enough and I work hard enough at it, I'll perfect it. Or I'll get someone to perfect it for me and I'll end up with a product. And she said, but you must have some idea of what you want. I said, well, being pushed to it. I said, well, granola, perfect. Everyone eats breakfast.
Yeah.
That was really, that was it. That was the start.
Yeah, excellent. That's brilliant. And so along, you were up and running then. So what were like some of the key successes that you think, oh, that was some of the days that you were really excited that you'd made a big breakthrough? So maybe like big clients, big wins, going international.
Yeah. I mean, there have been lots of them. There've been lots of highs and lots of lows. And so it's nice to concentrate to begin with on the anyway. Well, the first high was selling the first packet of granola to a customer, you know, because I knew I loved it. And by the way, when I started the business, I started with a range of 3 because I only had one recipe at home I developed a range and designed the packaging and everything. So the real high was farmers market. That's where we started making granola in my kitchen, putting it into everybody in the family, bagging it, boxing it, batching it, best before, all of that. And the first morning going up to the farmers market, and it was a wicked day. It was lashing rain. The canopy was heading off with the wind. The dogs were eating the samples that fell over onto the ground and all of this kind of stuff. And we sold €140 worth of granola in the wicked weather of November, 1st of November, 2013. that was a high. That was a
Yeah,
real,
yeah,
well, that's just, imagine if the weather was nice, imagine it was the summer,
yeah,
imagine all these other things. It would just make it better. So I kind of knew day one that it possibly could work.
yeah. That's great.
I mean, there've been so many highs. I mean, selling to the
Yeah,
first shop. There's
yeah,
a really fabulous food shop here in Rathfarnham called Get Fresh, and they were the first people. I went in buying ingredients,
yeah,
and I said to the guy, the manager there, I'm starting a food business, and send us in a case of each. And I said, okay, I'll send you a sample. No, we'll buy a case of each. And I thought, oh my God, my shop
yeah,
is dying.
yeah.
But
That's great.
along the way, then we export now to different markets. So like it's incredible to think that in Singapore people can buy our granola, in
Yeah,
Finland, in
yeah,
Spain, in France. From I was going to say from next week we have a new distributor. Um, Lots of that they've been real high points.
yeah.
There's just so many high
That's
points.
great.
It's hard to remember them all.
Yeah, because I would have seen you through the years at different events at the stand, big smile with all the products, and I know it's putting in the hard yards, and I know that there's an awful lot of hard work goes into
Mm.
those where waiting to try and make a breakthrough. So you've won some awards probably along the ways and got some recognition.
Yeah, we've won quite a few awards, from Great Taste Awards to Irish Free From Food Awards. We won a gold there for one of our products. We've won Irish Quality Food Awards. So they're great. I mean, to get the recognition when your products are matched against others, and in some cases we won like best cereal when our product was put benchmarked against regular cereals, not just gluten free. So
Yeah,
that's been really great to get.
excellent. And why did you choose the name? So what was the name of the
It was
brand?
that was a task set by my mentor from
Yeah,
the Enterprise board, and she set me off. My homework was to come up with like 100 names, and I came up with some really awful names. And I
yeah,
actually found the list the other day. I found the document on my computer, and I just laughed. I mean, really horrendous, from Ma Baker to Crumbleberries. It just doesn't
yeah,
get worse. And then when I suppose that's the thing about brainstorming, even if it is just with yourself.
yeah,
Thought, no, don't let any, and no limitations, just write down and keep writing. So I wrote 300 names, and there amongst it was Maria Lucia Bakes, and it's a play on because my name is Maria Lucia Betts, so it's
yeah,
an
yeah,
always
yeah,
been
yeah.
LB, and we shortened the name to an
Okay.
company as well. So it just seemed to resonate, because I suppose there's a slight vintage feel to our packaging. There's
Yeah,
story on our packaging of, growing up in Wicklow and helping my mum in the kitchen with the home baking. There's the pictures of the nice Nicholas Moss pottery.
yeah,
It's all very homely and wholesome, and, quality.
yeah,
Getting across that it's a premium thing, and having the name. I mean, it's quite popular. I mean, there are
yeah,
lots of brands where the founder's name is on it, and
yeah,
I suppose it brings an element of personality to the
yeah,
brand that maybe a very large brand, people know these names, have always known their names, but they don't really think of the people behind them.
yeah,
Whereas for a
yeah,
small brand, it's the one way to kind of try and emotionally connect with the
yeah,
consumer, so that they
yeah,
pick the product with, oh, there's my face on the side or the back,
yeah, yeah,
as
yeah.
opposed to a faceless brand.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people might get stuck when they're starting off, get stuck and not be able to make a decision on a name. And I know
Mm.
it can take a long time. Is there any tips on, so you would use a brainstorm and write down 300. Is there anything else that you thought was helpful in choosing
I mean,
when to brand?
I did an awful lot of desk research. I looked at every cereal I could find anywhere,
Yeah.
anywhere in the world. So some of them were Japanese to Australian, American, And I tried to get a feel for smaller brands, how they tend to package, brand themselves. So that whole personality piece and the person behind the brand became, I thought, the route I want to go. So huge amount of desk research. I also met either face to face or rang lots of other food businesses as well. It was part of my wider research into starting a food business. I had a million questions to ask. So the whole networking thing was really so important.
Yeah.
Probably, in truth, it came after. I think I had the branding done at that point and the name and everything, but the whole look of packaging. I went to Harrods. I went over, spent 3 hours in the food hall, and I looked at everything. I took loads of photos quietly. I bought lots of products. So I came home with, I bought like herbs because I like the packaging. I bought tea. I bought packets of biscuits. I wanted to have this look and this story and it was the overall package. I was trying to get inspiration.
Yeah.
That all coincided with picking a name and an overall look, brand feel and look and story.
And it looks great. So congratulations. I know that's
Colourful.
It always stands out. So is there any other, so you've deep research, very analytical, like that's a really great tip for anyone starting out. Is there anything else that you find in your way of working that you think this is core to how you operate? So, that you think I always do it like this, or this is so important.
Yeah, well, I suppose just going back to the research piece, for us in the food industry, there's Board Bia, and they have the Thinking House and a wonderful team in the library there. So anything you want to learn about trends, competing products in other countries, they will gather together this invaluable information that if you tried to get it yourself, to get a third party to do the research, would cost thousands and thousands and thousands.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful resource. So I've used that all along the way. And when looking at other markets, because from day one, I knew I would need to export to make the business viable, that Ireland is too small a market. I knew I needed to export. So from day one, I was looking at what's happening in America, what's happening in the UK, and since then have looked at other markets. Whenever we are at a trade show or we decide our products would be very good in Scandinavia, we use the Board Bia offices there, and we use the Thinking House library, and that's where all the research is on these markets to help us understand. So research has been a massive thing that we focused on from day one, and that will never change. And we've looked beyond the immediate business of gluten-free and cereal. So what's going on in the wider world? So we've had a massive breakthrough in terms of one of our products, because we've hit on a trend or on a number of trends. We can kind of tick those boxes. And that's because of reading industry publications. Most of these are free. You just sign up to them. You get them once a week. And for us, it's like bakery and snacks. It's like anything, innovations, new products, mergers, acquisitions within the industry that, it's interesting. It's important to know. So I think wider research and then niche research in your specific area, not to be so looking so closely at your own product that you miss everything else around. That's been really important.
Yeah.
Other than that, ways of working, our business model is an outsource model. So there's a very small team. It's me and one other. But there's actually a big team of people that make it happen between production, distribution, merchandising, accounts, and IT. So these are all self-employed people or separate businesses that we contract with. And that has been a very good model and allowed us to scale up. It's not without challenges, but it's the route I've chosen. And I think for me and our business, it's been the right one.
That's great.
That involves trusting people, because if I can't stand over somebody when they're making granola or they're going to a store and they're representing our brand, of no business. So I see a lot of people trying to do everything themselves, and it's a good way to start, but to grow a business probably means either hiring people or outsourcing. So from my coaching days, I coached an awful lot of people, managers, and I noticed that some people are afraid to delegate, afraid to let go. And that underlying message then to the person is, you need to be told, or I don't trust you. And I've learned that people will rise to a challenge generally. So I hire for attitude and I train for skill.
Yeah, very good.
Very much coming from the coaching experience.
Yeah, excellent. And so would you manage a lot of the initial sales wins over the years?
Yes.
Or is that all delegated out now?
No, the sales, getting distributors, getting a new supermarket or an online store or whatever, that's what I do. And then once, say it's a supermarket and we have to get goods to all the shops, then we have distributors that hold stock, and they have reps, and they call to stores and they merchandise, get dockets signed and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But dealing with buyers, I would do that.
Okay. Is there any kind of thing that you think, if you were doing it again, you might do it differently? So anything that you think, oh, I could have done that slightly differently, that was a bit of a waste of time or whatever?
Yeah. I think I didn't spend enough time at the beginning with my food product, really analysing what was on the shelves. I would do it now for any future product. It's a no-brainer. But at the time, I was in love with my recipe and I thought everyone will love my product.
Yeah.
And what I ended up with was a product that was unnecessarily premium. So very high nut content, honey. Whereas I could probably have put fewer nuts in, maybe used a little bit of sugar and honey or a different sweetener, and not put so many expensive ingredients in, because ultimately our product went on the shelf more expensive than anything else. And over the years, to bring our price point down, we've had to take a hit on our margin, which has meant that we need an increase in volume to make it viable.
Okay.
And we've also then gone and just recently reduced the pack size and pro rata reduced the customer's price. So the customer is not being diddled. They're paying the same by weight, but the price point on the shelf is more in line with other big brands.
Yes, okay.
Because the consumer is only interested, well, I can't say everybody, but a lot of consumers look at the price it is on the shelf, and they don't sort of say, well, there's 400 grams there and there's 325 there, therefore the 400 gram actually is better value. They tend to, a lot of people are in a rush and they just grab something that's cheap. And it's taken me 6 years to do that. So I would say to anybody, if it's, I suppose it doesn't have to be food, it could be anything, really be an expert in your customer, in your competition, really understand what is it about them, have a spreadsheet, have benchmark all of the USPs. So for us, it would be the high nut content, the low overall sugar content, or the protein, carbohydrates. That's how we do it. But to somebody else, it might be quality of sound if it's a musical instrument. Just comparing that, it's not all about price as well. What makes you different, and really understanding them, because I didn't.
Yeah.
Thought I did, but it It was too much of a, oh, I see that product there and that's from American. I think my recipe would be nicer and the ingredients are healthier than that product. That wasn't enough.
Yeah, well, you did a fantastic job. So it didn't hold you back, but there's some good learnings there, some really good learnings. Any books or that you would recommend, or podcasts or videos that you would like to kind of keep your learning, keep upskilling?
A great book is called The E-Myth,
Oh yeah,
Michael Gerber.
yeah,
And it's a really fabulous book. I read it years ago and I reread it then about a year ago. And it really, in essence, it's saying that if you run your business as if you're going to sell it, even if you don't ever sell it, you'll have a really good business. For anybody, you know, when you start a small business, you can be sloppy because it's just you and, sure, you know, the payment, your own money and the business get confused maybe if you're not careful to begin with. And there's all kinds of decisions you can make in the early days that actually, would a very large company make those decisions? No, they wouldn't. So adopting a mindset of that you're a much bigger business, or that you actually report into a scary MD, and how would you face that person and say what you've just done? So having systems, strategies, all of these things, because then when your business grows and you want to scale up and you need finance, everything is an apple pie order. So you're going to come across as a lower risk business. But if you're a bit all over the shop, then you're not going to instill confidence. No. And then, as I say, of course, if you are building a business and that you want to sell on, and you know, the prospective buyer is going to do their due diligence, having things in place that have not been cobbled together just because you're going to have a conversation, but the way you have run your business for the previous 5, 6, 7 years, it's going to stand to you that it's a well-run business. So that's a book I would highly recommend. And again, I think you can apply it to every kind of business. It makes sense. And then, as I say, I spend a lot of time reading industry publications, which I'd highly recommend. But just looking at the overall, not to look too narrow at it, look general, because that's where you get ideas, your learnings. Board be it, I go to a lot of, would have pre-COVID, would have gone to a lot of events, where industry experts would talk about, you know, maybe exporting to different markets, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. I wouldn't truthfully do a lot in the way of podcasts. It would be much more books and publication and our own research.
Well, I hope you can listen back to this one anyway and enjoy it. So the some great tips there. I do think the finance and legal and process is very scary and receives not enough attention from a lot of people starting out. So I know that from personal experience, and it's it takes time to find a good bookkeeper or a good accountant or, you know, good processes in house or good software, and just these are all critical to having your ship in order, because otherwise I think you lose so much time doing it second time or third time when but that comes with experience, I think, and good coaching, which you can get from the local enterprise offices and
that's right,
and board B, etc.
That's right. So
is there any big plans? Where do you see yourself going in the next few years? What's the vision for the business moving forward?
It's to continue to export and to grow our business in the markets where we're in. So we export to a number of places, but it's all small business at the moment, with the exception of the UK, which is our main business at the moment. It's to build more online business, because what COVID has taught us is that if people are at home and they're scared to shop, or the winter sets in and fancy queuing outside, their local Super Value or Tesco, that there's more likelihood that people are going to go online. So it's to maximize online business. We've seen growth in that in the last few months. So to grow more of that. But it's really to support the distributors and retailers that we have, because they're early enough days and we know that there's an awful lot more business that they can bring in. And we have to drive awareness of our brand in other markets, which is a challenge when you're not there. You know, in Ireland, you can stand in a shop and do in-store tastings, you can do your social media piece, but what happens when it's in Finland, for example, or Italy or whatever? So it's to really try and get it all working so that we have a balance between bricks and mortar retail, online, and then also try and get our food service business to recover. That took a terrible hammering when the restaurants and hotels and everything closed. So it's really just to drive that, and possibly we'll consolidate our range. We have a very wide range of products, cereals, where we focus more on, you know, the 80-20 rule, the ones that are performing really well. The ones that are not doing so well, look at sort of shaving those off the range. And we can see products that are, say, low in sugar are really, you know, stronger than ones that have a higher sugar content. So develop maybe more products down the line in that area.
Great. And where can people go to find out about the products and make inquiries?
So our website is marialuciabakes.com, and we're on social media, all the usual platforms from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, of course, and LinkedIn as well.
Excellent. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, Maria. It's been a while. It's great. It's great to catch up and to hear you doing so well. And James has recommended to have a chat with you. So it's really great. I hope you've have a good end of year and things continue to progress well with the business, given the tough circumstances out there.
Thanks very much, Conor.
And I'll be in touch again soon.
Great.
Thank you. All the best. Thank you.
All the best. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. If this is your first time to join us, you are most welcome, and please subscribe for future episodes. This show is shared with you to help you succeed, so please share with others to help them succeed too. At Selfmakers, we believe you can all be your own business. We're here to help self-employed people across the globe accelerate their careers and achieve self-made success. Please visit selfmakers.com and follow Selfmakers on social media. Bye for now.